Resident Evil Requiem works amazingly well on the Xbox Ally X. I'm going to show you the best settings for both docked and handheld play. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want you to do is actually back out into the desktop because we're going to mess with AMD first. And then what you want to do is go to the AMD software. Now you can either press the shortcut if you have one, like I do, or you can search for AMD at the top here and it will just come up as AMD software. Now, once we're inside the AMD software, you want to hit gaming, or if you've already got it popped up here, then click on Resident Evil Requiem. But if you go to gaming, then you'll be able to find the game and just open it up like so. Now, all I want you to do is scroll down and enable RIS, which is Radeon Image Sharpening. So just hit that toggle there, and the default is 80% underneath with the slider. Just leave that there. That's all good. Now, the next thing we want to do, just to double check, is open up Armory Crate like so, and we want to go to Performance and GPU settings, and I'd recommend 10 gig, 8 to 10 gig of VRAM. Now you can restart your system so that we go back into Xbox full screen experience. So now we are in Xbox full screen experience, just go ahead and load up your game. Now you've opened up the game, head over to Options, Graphics, and then we've got the display. And what we want to do is turn off VSync. Now we want to go over to the Image tab, and I actually recommend playing this in 720p, but don't worry, because that AMD RIS that we just enabled honestly makes this look way higher resolution. It looks like native 1080. Trust me on this one. Let's carry on. We want frame rate variable. We want motion blur. That's to taste, if I'm perfectly honest. I prefer off, but if you want a little bit more like perceived smoothness, motion blur does actually help. Now, because we've got 10 gig of VRAM, I know I said 8 to 10, but I've been using 10, we can actually get away with ray tracing on normal. Bear in mind that will give you a 30 FPS experience outside, and inside you'll get probably about 40 FPS there. But just for demonstration's purpose, let's turn ray tracing off. I'm gonna have hair strands off. Gonna go down here and we want custom, and go to advanced settings. Texture quality, we want normal. Texture filter quality on high times 16. We then want mesh low, screen space reflections on, because it drastically changes the look of the game in my opinion, and I think it's worth the very minor hit there. Subsurface scattering off. Lens distortion, I actually have on, just like that. We want depth of field off. We want upscaling mode, I put it to ultra performance when I had ray tracing on. Now, if you don't have ray tracing on, you can just go ahead and go to performance. Frame gen, this is to taste. I prefer it off, but there is in-game frame generation. So if you're someone that likes frame generation, go ahead and turn that on. I personally prefer to have it off, but you know, it is just a taste. Now we've got particle lighting on, volumetric fog low, lens dirt off, lens flare standard, shadow quality low, contact shadows on, ambient occlusion normal, because again, this actually drastically changes the look of the game and it makes it more horror-y, you know, by having it on. So let's do that. We've got VFX quality low, and that is it. The last thing we're going to do is open up Armory Crate just here, and I've got this on a custom 20 watt power profile. So I've got 20 watts just there, and I'll show you how to do this very quickly. So you want to open up Armory Crate. Now head down to performance and operating mode. Now go ahead and go to the end there. You won't see it because I've got an overlay open, but it says manual, right? And now what I want you to do is change these sliders to 20, 23, and 28. And what you can go ahead and do is go to the three dots up here, these three dots, and then hit rename. And now you can type in 20 watts and then hit rename. And now you can then hit apply. Mine's grayed out because I've already made it. And once you've done that, when you go up here, you'll now have silent 13 watts, performance 17 watts, turbo 25, and then manual will be 20. And finally, down here, you can turn CPU boost off as well. Now, the reason I choose 20 watts is I find this is the best handheld mode for the best performance and the best sort of battery life in the middle, right? So this is in between that 17 and 25 watt mode, and I just find 20 is enough to give you extra performance whilst not just absolutely killing the battery. So now we can go ahead, close Armory Crate, go back to Resident Evil, and then we can load our game. So like I said, if you have ray tracing enabled and did the ray tracing settings that I said, you will be getting about 30 FPS here. It's about 32, whereas I am getting now about 55 FPS. And the reason why I've started a new save just here is to show you this area, because this is the most demanding area for quite some time. And you can see I'm actually hitting up to 60 FPS there. So it's a good 55 to 60 FPS without frame gen here at 20 watts. And that's all because we're playing at 720p, but 720p still looks absolutely great when you use AMD RIS. RIS, that image sharpening, really helps. And for me personally, this is the way I like to play. A really good balance between super good image quality, even though it's 720p being upscaled on performance mode, which is crazy, it still looks spectacular, and we're getting 55 to 60 FPS in this area, which is so incredibly demanding, yet is super smooth, super fluid. Everything looks great because of the settings that I've shown you to apply. And yeah, this is a fantastic experience at 20 watts. You can see in my overlay here that the GPU power is at 20 watts. We've got really good GPU utilization at 94%, and we're getting a good 60 FPS here. And like I said, it still looks super sharp, super great. But yeah, this intro to the game, this area is very heavy, super demanding. It's the most demanding area for hours yet. Like, it really is. That's why I've decided to show you this point here, but it just plays and looks absolutely fantastic. Now we've got out of the main sort of area, and it's still super built up. There's a lot going on, but we're well into the 70 FPS here now. We're like 70 to 75 FPS, which is great. And now we're heading into the start of the main game. But let me just load in another save. So now we're inside. This is still super early in the game, no spoilers. You've seen this bit in the trailer, but now we're into the 80s. So 70 to 80 FPS. The little dips down to the high 60s there, but I'm pretty much at 80 FPS here. And this is the more like average kind of FPS you're going to expect from this game, because this game is a lot of inside areas, right? Now let's just load up my actual real save that I'm actually playing. So this is way further into the game, and we're at a good 67 FPS there, up to 70. So you're around the high 60s, highs of 70, lows of 63, and this whole area is kind of like the majority of the game. And if I go into the main area, this is like the biggest area of the majority of where I'm at, the intro of the game, right? And I'm getting a good sort of 63 to 65 FPS. This is totally playable, and stuff looks super good. Like, if you told me this was 720p and also being upscaled with performance mode on FSR 3, like, I just wouldn't believe you. I'd think that's native 1080p. Using that AMD image sharpening trick I showed you at the beginning honestly makes the world of difference, and it makes playing any game at 720p just look like such a higher resolution. It really does. So I'm absolutely blown away by the performance of this thing at 20 watts. So let's just quickly boost up. So I'm going to go to turbo 25 watts here. We're still on battery power right now. Now I can see the GPU utilization is now peaked up to 25 watts. I'm going to give it sort of 30 seconds or so just to level out, because it does have a little ramp when you change it. And again, we're at 25 watts now, but you can see we're basically at the exact FPS that we were before, 63 FPS. So you're pumping more power, but not really getting any more performance. And that is why I love 20 watts mode. So yeah, I highly recommend running this at 20 watts handheld. Best battery life, best performance really. It's pretty much the same performance as 25 watt plus. It's a really good mode, so I highly recommend everyone go and make that 20 watt custom profile that I showed you. But I am going to talk about docked mode, which we don't normally do, but I wanted to test this out on the TV over there using the Asus ROG dock. Now the settings are exactly the same on the TV, But I did use ray tracing. So when I was playing on the TV, I was playing with ray tracing on like normal or low, whatever it was in the settings there. But I did change the upscaling method to ultra performance, but everything else is exactly the same. Of course, it is plugged in, and I am plugging this in with a 100-watt charger, which means the Xbox Ally X actually is getting the full TDP. So it can boost right up to the 35-watt profile. And with this, I tried the same tests. So I did the intro to the game, which is the most demanding area of the game so far that I've played in the past sort of 6+ hours that I've played the game, right? And we're still getting above 30 FPS here. The only thing you need to do, if you do not have a VRR TV, which I don't here in the studio here, this TV is just a 60 Hertz panel, no VRR, I enabled VSync because that's just going to eliminate screen tearing from that fluctuating FPS. So if you don't have VRR, enable VSync, and that's going to help you out there. Otherwise, you're just going to notice all that tearing. And even though I'm running this at 720p docked, upscaled with ultra performance now, it still looks great. It really, really does. And that little bit of extra ray tracing there really looks great. And if I moved the save over to the other ones where I'm actually inside, more towards how the actual game plays, you're getting a good like 50 FPS here, which is absolutely mad with ray tracing on. Bear that in mind. You can get a lot more performance if you turned ray tracing off and just put the upscaling method back to performance mode. You're going to get way more FPS that way. And of course, all of these tests that I've just done here are without frame gen. So if you enable frame gen, you're going to get even more performance, which is absolutely mad. It was great fun to play on the TV, but honestly, I'm a handheld dude. I prefer to play these systems as they're intended, right? 20-watt mode, handheld, 720p with Radeon image sharpening on. It's just a wonder. It still blows my mind that I can play the latest Resident Evil in all of its glory without really many sacrifices here on the go on something like the Xbox Ally X. It blows my mind. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I hope you all enjoy Resident Evil Requiem. Let me know down in the comments. Have you used my settings? Have you found that they've worked really well for you? Let me know your thoughts. Just tell me everything. Just tell me everything down there in the comments. Whilst down there, like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you get to chat to us over on our private Discord. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.